Shalom, everybody, and welcome back to Torah from the Tropics, live Torah from the Philippines. And in this week's Parshat Eikev, there's a very beautiful verse, very well known around the world in many different faiths and contexts. The verse reads, "Man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God." And what this has come to mean, popularly speaking, is that when you say man does not live by bread alone, it means that a human being has more than just physical or biological needs. Human beings have mental needs, emotional needs, and more specifically, spiritual needs to feel full, to feel complete, to be at peace with themselves, right? So bread is not enough. But what we need is Torah. Torah are the words, the instruction, the inspiration, the guidance that God gives us, right? But then when you go to the Talmud, a section called Pirkei Avot, in the Pirkei Avot, there's a very interesting teaching, Im ein kemach ein Torah, which means if one does not have flour to make bread, if one does not have flour, then one does not have Torah. So it's kind of taking the opposite position. Not necessarily opposite, but the opposite priority, right? So in the biblical verse, we see that bread alone is not enough. Living in the physical world, just taking care of your physical necessities is not enough. But the Talmud Pirkei Avot says that, hey, if you don't have bread, you're never going to have Torah, meaning you're never going to have a roof over your head. You're never going to have, if you don't have food to eat, if you don't have a meal to put on the table, if you're not taking care of your family, if you're not taking care of your role as a provider, then you need to put Torah on the back burner. Bread is the priority. So what I wanted to do is share with you this very interesting insight that I've never seen before, and that is when you go to the Pirkei Avot, not the most often quoted part of that teaching is, if there is no flour, if there's no bread, there will be no Torah. But if you actually go to the source and read it, it's kind of like this yin and yang teaching. So it says, Im ein kemach ein Torah, and if there is no flour, there is no Torah. And then it goes on to say, Im ein Torah, ein kemach. And if there's no Torah, there's no flour, there's no bread. So I want you to think about that second part, because this is where the big question comes, is what exactly does that mean? If there's no Torah, there will be no bread. The first part is understandable. And the second part, okay? Now, interestingly enough, the second part is the one most often dropped off or not quoted. When this teaching is quoted, it is only quoted from the first half, but the second half is left off. And why do you think the second half is left off? Because how do you explain such a thing? If there's no Torah, there's no flour. If there's no spirituality, then you won't have bread, you won't have sustenance for everyday physical living. So this is the insight that's really beautiful. It's that what it means is the following, is if you don't have spiritual context to your everyday living, if you don't have some kind of navigation tool that is based on spiritual principles, and decent, and a commitment to improving in life and developing yourself. If you don't have any ethical, moral, spiritual context to put your entire life, it does not matter how much you eat, you will always remain unsatisfied. If you don't have a spiritual reality in your life, a higher power, a higher purpose, a defined meaning in your life, if you don't have Torah, you will not have bread. Means you will never be satisfied by the bread you have. And bread here could be food, and it could also be money. So no matter how hard you're working, no matter how much you attain in your life on a material level, you will be a bottomless pit of hunger, of an existential, you will have an existential void in your life that will lead to existential crisis. You will forever be restless and irritable, discontent, hungry, on the point of there being a real serious problem. And this is not something new. This is already foretold by the prophets in the book of Amos. He says that there will come a time, days are coming, behold, days are coming, where there will be a famine in the land, but the famine will not be a hunger for bread, nor a thirst for water, but for the living word of God. And so the prophet says that there'll be a time on this planet that there will be a famine. Human beings will be really hungry for meaning, hungry for purpose. They will want to put their reality into some kind of meaningful context, or else what's the purpose, right? But there'll be so many people with this hunger that it will be a global famine, my friends. And so we go back to the Parsha, and we go back to the original verse where it says, man cannot sustain himself by bread alone, but by the words of God. And now we understand what that verse means. And just a couple of verses later it says, Ve'achalta ve'savata uvarachta et Hashem Elokecha, and you shall eat, you shall feel satiated, and you shall bless the Lord thy God. So 3 things you need to do. You need to eat, you need to feel satisfied, and you shall bless. And this is why Jewish people bless at the end of their meals too, with the Birkat HaMazon. Now, the Karliner Rebbe, a Hasidic Rebbe, has a very interesting comment on this verse, and I just want to end with this. And he says, where does the satisfaction exactly come from? The satisfaction does not come from the eating. It says, you shall eat and be satisfied and bless. The satisfaction cannot come from the eating alone, but only when the ve'achalta and the verachta, when the eating and the blessing come together as one. When you bring this mindful state of thanking God, of gratitude, and taking a moment to pause to spiritually connect to the act of eating and the source where the food comes from. So if you do this right, you will connect the eating with the blessing. And when that's connected, then you'll have the satisfaction. In other words, let us not live this one-dimensional life of just chasing after physical needs. While that is so important, friends, it's time we bring spirituality back into the context of our lives, because that is the roadmap. That is the whole reason we're here. So we should be blessed to pursue more study of Torah, more blessings, more family time, more community time. Bring the dignity back to the human being by having him and her claim their spiritual origin, their spiritual inheritance, and their spiritual destiny. Have a great week. Take care, you guys. All good.